Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna,
Krishna Krishna,
Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Shila Bhagavatam ki,
Jai.
Shila Prabhupada ki,
Jai.
Iskon Guru ki,
Jai.
Itai Guru Vrinda.
Hari Om.
Read from Shila Prabhupada Limrita, chapter 8. During February and March of 1975, Srila Prabhupada toured widely, again traveling eastward via Tokyo and Hawaii to Los Angeles. While traveling, he received word that Governor Reddy had accepted the invitation to attend the Vrindavan temple opening on Ram Navami. Early in the morning of March 23rd, Srila Prabhupada left the Calcutta temple for Mayapur, traveling in a caravan of 5 cars. Prabhupada was in the first car, three following cars carried his sannyasi disciples, and the last car carried his sister Bhavatarini and other ladies. As usual, Prabhupada asked to stop at the mango orchard. We've read this as well. Okay, Mayapur, March 23rd, 1975. For this year's festival, almost 500 devotees from all around the world had gathered, and Prabhupada, while taking his morning walks in the nearby fields, while entering the temple of Radha Madhav, or while lecturing from the Chaitanya Charitamrita, was the central attractive feature. Each morning, after giving the class, he would circumambulate the temple room, followed by his disciples. A brass bell hung from the ceiling on either side of the deity's altar, and Prabhupada, while circumambulating the deities, would go up to one of the bells and ring it several times, pulling the rope, while the kirtan continued widely. Then, with cane in hand, he would walk around the back of the deity altar and emerge on the other side to ring the other bell. The devotees would jump up and down close around him, singing Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. It's when a speaker or someone is chanting the Maha Mantra, it's the devotees also chant with them. It's like I don't know if it's a tradition, but because it's a holy name, that we all join in to take advantage of that chanting. Smiling with great pleasure, Prabhupada would continue the length of the temple room, past the pictures of Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati, Gopkishore Das Babaji, and Bhaktivinoda Thakur, then come round and up the other side of the temple room to the first bell again and strongly ring it. After half a dozen such blissful circumambulations, he would leave the temple room while the kirtan continued to roar. Coming out into the bright morning sunshine, he would walk up the broad staircase to his room. Shri Prabhupada ki
Jai.
To read from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 2, Text 37. Shrinvam
Shrinvam
Grinan Samsmarayam Chintayan Shrinvam Grinan Samsmarayam Chintayan Namami Rupani Chamangalani Te Namani Cha Rupani Chamangalani Te
Namani Rupani Cha Mangalani Te
Kriyasu Yas Trach
Charanaravindayo
Kriyasu Yas Trach Charanaravindayo Avishta Chita Na Bhavaya Kalpate Avishta Chita Na Bhavaya Kalpate Shrinvan Grinam Samsmarayam
Chintayam
Namani Rupani Chamangalani Te
Namani Rupani Chamangalani Te
Kriyasu Yas Trach Charanaravindayo Avishta Chita Na Bhavaya Kalpate Shrinvan Grinam Samsmarayam Chatintayam Namani Rupani Chamangalani Te Kriyasu Yas Trach Charanaravindayo Avishta Chita Na Bhavaya Kalpate
Shinvan Grinan Samsmaram Yamscha Chintayam
Anugranam Samsaram Chatintayam
Namani Rupani Chamangalani Te
Namani Rupani Chamangalani Te
Yasu Yastvachcharanaravindayor
Kriyasu Yas Trach Charanaravindayo
Avishta Chitana Bhavaya Kalpate
Avishta Chita Na Bhavaya Kalpate. It's good to follow the melody of the chanter, and then everybody else, because Sanskrit's not the easiest thing to do. You want to speak of the melody as well, so to confuse would be. So just to stick with the melody, and it's easier for everybody else.
Shrinvan Gunan Samsmarana Shrinvan Gunan Samsmarayam Chintayam
Shimangrinan Samsmarayam Chintayam Namani Rupani Chamangalani Te Kriyasu Yastvachcharanaravindayo Avishta Chitana Bhavaya Kalpate Shimangrinan Samsmarayam Chintayam Namani Rupani Chamangalani Te Kriyasu yastvachcharanaravindayor Avishta-chitana bhavaya kalpate. Shinvan grinan samsmarayamscha chintayam Namani rupani cha mangalani te Kriyasu yastvachcharanaravindayor Avishta-chitana bhavaya kalpate.
Shrinvan, constantly hearing about the Lord.
Constantly hearing about the Lord.
Shravanam Kirtanam Vishnu.
Shravanam Kirtanam Vishnu.
Grinan,
Grinan.
chanting or reciting.
Chanting or reciting.
The holy name of the Lord and his activities.
The holy name of the Lord and his activities. Samsmarayam.
Remembering. Constantly thinking of the Lord's lotus feet and his form.
Constantly thinking of the Lord's lotus feet and his form.
Cha. And.
Chintayan.
Contemplating the transcendental activities of the Lord.
Contemplating the transcendental activities of the Lord.
Namani. His transcendental names.
His transcendental names. Rupani.
His transcendental forms.
His transcendental forms.
Cha. Also. Mangalani. Which are all transcendental and therefore auspicious.
All transcendental and therefore auspicious.
Te. Of your Lordship. Kriyasu. In being engaged in the devotional service. Ya. He who. Twachcharana aravindayo. At your lotus feet. Avishta Chita. The devotee who is completely absorbed in such activities. Now. Not. Bhavaya. For the material platform. Kalpate. Is fit. Translation. Even while engaged in various activities, devotees whose minds are completely absorbed at your lotus feet, and who constantly hear, chant, contemplate, and cause others to remember your transcendental names and forms, are always on the transcendental platform, and thus they can understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead. How Bhakti Yoga can be practiced is explained in this verse. Srila Rupa Goswami has said that anyone who has dedicated his life to the service of the Lord, Iha Yasya Hare Tasya, by his activities, his mind, and his words, Kamana Manasa Gira, may stay in any condition of life, Nikalashvapi Avastasu, and yet is no longer actually conditioned but is liberated, Jivan Mukta Saruchati. Even though such a devotee is in the material body, he has nothing to do with this body, for he is transcendently situated. Narayana Parad Samve Na Krutaschana Vipyati. Because a devotee is engaged in transcendental activities, he is not afraid of being materially embodied. Illustrating this liberated position, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu prayed, Mama Janani Jamanishwari Bhavatat Bhaktya Vaitikitmai. All I want is your causeless devotional service in my life, birth after birth. Even if a devotee, by the supreme will of the Lord, takes birth in this material world, he continues his devotional service. When King Bharat made a mistake and in his next life became a deer, devotional service did not stop, although some slight chastisement was given to him because of his negligence. Now, Damini says that even if one falls from the platform of devotional service, he is not lost, whereas non-devotees are lost entirely because they are not engaged in service. Therefore, Bhagavad Gita 9.14 therefore recommends that one always engage at least in chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. Sattam kirtayanto mam yatatam chastridabhuta namasyantas chamam yatbhaktya nityayukta vipasati. Always chanting my glories, endeavouring with great determination, bowing down before me, the great souls perpetually worship me with devotion. One should not give up the process of devotional service, which is performed in 9 different ways: Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Smaranam, Padasevanam, etc. The most important process is hearing Shravanam from the Guru, Sadhu and Sastra, the spiritual masters, Signi Acharyas, and the Vedic literature. Sadhu Sastra Guru Vakya, Chitite Karya Akya. We should not hear the commentaries and explanations of non-devotees, but this is strictly forbidden by Srila Sanatana Goswami, who quotes from the Padma Purana. A Vaishnava will quote Girnan, Putam Hari Katam Ritam, Sravanam Gnaiva Kartavyam, Sampujchishtam Yatapaya. One should strictly follow this injunction and never try to hear from Mayavadis, impersonalists, Buddhists, politicians, or so-called scholars. Strictly avoiding such inauspicious association, we should simply hear from pure devotees. Srila Rupa Goswami therefore recommends Sri Guru Padashraya. One must seek shelter at the lotus feet of a pure devotee who can be one's guru. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu advises that a guru is one who strictly follows the instructions of Bhagavad Gita. Yardika Tarika Krishna Pradesh. A juggler, a magician, or one who speaks nonsense as an academic career is not a guru. Rather, a guru is one who represents Bhagavad Gita, Krishna's instructions as it is. Shravana is very important. One must hear from the Vaishnava, Sadhu, Guru, and Sastra. The word kriyasu, meaning by manual labor or by work, is important in this verse. One should engage in practical service to the Lord. In our Krishna consciousness movement, all our activities are concentrated upon distributing Krishna literature. This is very important. One may approach any person and induce him to read Krishna literature so that in the future he also may become a devotee. Such activities are recommended in this verse. Kriyasu Yas. Such activities will always remind the devotees of the Lord's lotus feet. By fully engaged in concentrating on distributing books for Krishna, one is fully absorbed in Krishna. This is samadhi. Anchikam Pachubhascha, Kripasanti Vicha, Titanam Pavnebhyo, Vaishnavebhyo, Namo Namaha, Shri Krishna Chaitanya, Shri Dvaita Gadadhara, Shri Vasudeva. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So, with the blessings of devotees, I can say something on the holy name and do so for my own purification as well. So Srila Prabhupada, he came in 1965 and he said how he didn't know whether to turn left or right to start this mission of spiritual Krishna consciousness all around the world. So to have such a task and what drove him forward to come that far and continue, whatever the obstacles, was his faith in the holy name and the order of his spiritual master, and saw himself as helpless, just totally dependent on Krishna and his mercy. So his faith is such that he knew Krishna as a person. He knew he had full faith that he was the controller, the supreme enjoyer, and the best friend of every living entity. So he went forward with this faith, full faith in that, and just saw himself as a puppet in the Lord's hands. And he knew that Krishna, being a surrendered soul, he knew that he had Krishna's protection and that Krishna would maintain him so that this order of his spiritual master would be fulfilled. So this is the nature of a soul that's in full realization of his relationship with the Lord. We similarly have the inhabitants of Vrindavan when if any danger was there, immediately their natural recourse would be call out to Krishna for help. So to have that kind of faith, what do we need to do? So this verse explains how by remembering Krishna and in our service and reminding each other, then we can come to understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna as he is. And there's another verse in that regard, which is one of the seed verses in the Bhagavad Gita. Does anyone know which one it is? There's 4 seed verses, and one is very similar to this one. Do you know it? Or you could give a rough translation.
Those devotees who are engaged in my service and constantly serving me, for them,
the thoughts of my, I think I've got a bit 2 verses there. The thoughts of my pure devotees dwell in me, their lives are fully devoted to my service, and they derive great satisfaction and bliss from always enlightening one another and conversing about me. So, by chanting his names and reminding each other about Krishna, then Krishna is there. Krishna appears. He's there, and in the form of satisfaction and bliss. This is the nature of the spiritual energy. So, by putting Krishna at the center of one's activities, serving him in devotion, and discussions being Krishna in the center, then the natural consequence is satisfaction and bliss. So, and this is how we associate with Krishna. And that's why during festivals, or Kadashi, any of the appearance, especially on the appearance of the Lord, then we take the time to hear about the Lord, the name, form, and pastimes of the Lord, and in this way associate with Him. So just like a nice point Ramananda made the other day, that all these festivals and marathons and so on, they're to remind us of, give us a kind of springboard to continue in that vein in between these festivals, to be always talking about Krishna or subject matters relating to Him, to be focusing our mind on serving Him for His pleasure. And this way our Krishna consciousness increases to the point of samadhi. Always remembering the Lord and never forgetting Him. So can anyone say, share with us what they like or love about Krishna? John?
It costs lots of money to get involved.
So?
It costs lots of money to society.
The question was, what do you like or love about Krishna? Your answer is because he has lots of money.
No, because it doesn't take lots of money to
It doesn't take lots of money to
sort of be one of his devotees.
Okay, so the poorest of the poor can associate with him. Is that what attracts you to Krishna?
Yeah, I was looking for something that was because it didn't seem to be present in society.
Sorry?
I was looking for something that didn't seem to be present in the society that I was in. Looking for an alternative to society. Yeah, so it's that.
Thank you. Yeah, so Krishna is so accessible. Everyone can approach him. He's the most approachable. So much so that he's in our heart, and we don't need any amount of wealth to connect with him. Just like And this Krishna says, if you have just even a leaf of flower, fruit or water, I'll accept it. So like that. Is there anyone else?
Yes. Krishna is the source of all remembrance and forgetfulness. So for me, that's been something that's always been like a revelation, and on all levels, I can, in the spiritual world, Yoga Maya or Krishna can help the devotees forget miraculous things that he does that reveals that he's the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And he puts them back into that spell of being his close associates and friendly and or romantic or whatever it is. And just on all levels, even just like just being in the atmosphere of the temple and things, in memory can become very refined, and you can remember things from like a long time ago and see them in a different light, different perspective, and forget certain things as well. And also, like, devotional service is a test of remembering things and forgetting certain things, and remembering to accidentally forgetting things that we should remember as well. And the whole Krishna is it's like a whole surrender to Krishna going on through accepting that he's the source of all that remembering and forgetting.
Well, it helps us to, well, for myself anyway, to take stock of where I am in devotional service, that I forgot that, to do that again and again, to give an impetus for us to move forward in our Krishna consciousness. sometimes we might want to remember something, but at the same time, if we do forget, like if it's nothing too serious, of course, then it may be that Krishna didn't want us to remember because he wanted something else to take place.
Yeah.
So not to be too attached to
Yeah.
a particular way of doing things.
I'm finding that by the grace of the devotees, the association with other devotees, they can help. Well, Krishna's involved, obviously, is the source of it, but they can help. The devotees can help one to remember things about their own devotional experiences. It brings back the remembering, is awakened about Krishna. So I'm finding that's happening a lot. So I can remember going to Mayapur in 2005, and just because I had free conversations with devotees, and then I think, oh wow, yeah, and I can share that experience. But it's the devotees that make that possible, and Krishna reciprocates with the other devotees and brings it out.
And Krishna acts through the devotees.
Yes, yeah.
Say something,
That he looks for our devotion and not necessarily our ability. Like in the outside world, there's kind of pressure to be, the best in something that we would do. But with Krishna, it's, about devotion. You're doing, you put your devotion into it, even if it's not, you're not the best.
Yeah, the tendency is to do things that bring an applause. Whereas the devotees' qualities or opulences are internal, so that devotion may not be obvious, but depending on the consciousness, then if one strives for that, but then one's sure of Krishna's reciprocation, or pleasing Krishna that way by our devotion. Because sometimes we can get caught up with the externals and do something in such a way that brings a wow, but at the same time, it may be at the cost of pleasing Krishna, by our consciousness, or doing the way that we're attached to, or like that. So thank you. So I was kind of bringing that up just because sometimes we forget Krishna is a person, and especially during Japa, the 10th of it is also an offence to be inattentive while chanting, as well as it's the root cause of all the offences. So the more we can be conscious that Krishna is a person, that he's there for us, he's most accessible, he's there waiting for our attention, he's wanting us to remember him, and so on. Then the more we can feel his presence when we're chanting, because does anyone know the 3 P's while chanting japa?
Posture, prayer, pronunciation.
That's it, posture, pronunciation, and prayer. So that unless it's a prayerful, chanting in a prayerful mood, then the tendency is there to be impersonal towards Krishna. So I'm sorry, I didn't want to miss you out. Can you tell us also, Peter, what attracts you most to Krishna, or what you like or love about Krishna?
Yeah. Many points, many things. I just could mention the lotus feet. I like his lotus feet.
And what attracts you to them?
They are extraordinarily beautiful.
This is what enlivens you.
Yes.
That's nice. And yourself, Vrinda?
And like that Krishna is very merciful and kind, it's giving me a chance to discover him after everything what he done, to forgive him.
Yes, yeah, he's so merciful. That he sent Prabhupada to represent his pure devotee, that we all have a chance to get that mercy. And despite our fallen positions or backgrounds that in materialistic terms, disqualify us. So Lord is so merciful. So, yeah, so the things that can get in the way is we get too self-absorbed, or trying to be the enjoyer ourselves, or controller, or stay in our comfort zone, like that. But to become Krishna conscious, then sometimes we have to take risks. Like Prabhupada, just putting himself in a situation where just completely in the Lord's mercy, whatever happened. So similarly for ourselves, to put ourselves in situations where we're not in control, it's totally outside our comfort zone, that we're, for the devotional intelligence says to do one thing, but our bodily intelligence on the body platform says, no, don't do it. So, but I that surrender to follow in that way, then Krishna's waiting to give us so much in return. And during this chanting, the more we focus on that, the posture, the pronunciation, especially prayer, to chant in an emotional way that carries on. It should carry on to an emotion of some kind. Please, Lord, give me my dear Lord Krishna, please give me that love for you. Please make me qualified to have that love for you. Oh, please, dear Krishna, I have this problem, but please help me come to a point to tell him this problem, how big you are. Said how we shouldn't tell Krishna how big our problem is. He says we should tell the problem how big Krishna is. Just like the inhabitants of Vrindavan, no danger was too big for Krishna. So being the Supreme Personality of Godhead, then all these things are minuscule. So similarly, our anarthas, our lack of desire, our for the right things, our inability to surrender to certain situations, all these things are small fry for Krishna. It's the only thing getting in the way is our desire to overcome these things. And for us to desire those things, then we have to be doing something for the Lord to reciprocate in that way. So our service, willingness to cooperate and please the devotees, and in this way we please Krishna. Any questions or comments?
Krishna is all attractive. Why are the human beings not all attractive?
Well, the soul is all attractive within those living beings, and it's due to the soul within the body that it has any attraction at all. You know, if you compare it with a dead body. Also, every living being is part and parcel of Krishna, and has so many qualities. It's the same as Krishna, but not the same in quantity. So the body is just a covering of that soul. But as the soul becomes more and more Krishna conscious, one may experience or witness how the living entity becomes effulgent. The body, the living entity in that human form becomes effulgent. You know, there's so many devotees you could do a before and after picture with them, before they came to Krishna consciousness, and after some practice of Krishna consciousness. And you see the differences, black and white sometimes. So like Prabhupada say once they put on tilak, dhoti and kunti mala, they look like they're coming from Vaikuntha. That's what he said. So the more one, and you see also how after prolonged practice, the time factor doesn't have such a big effect on their body in the sense that they seem to be more youthful than someone else of the same age, especially if they're performing simple activities. So it's the devotional service that's not different than Krishna, is ever youthful, eternal, full of knowledge and bliss. So the more the living entity is in contact with that energy, then the more his youthful soul, the youthfulness of the soul is more manifest. But then again, old age is there and so on. The body should start to shrivel eventually. But still, the consciousness shines through. The person is still so attractive because of their consciousness.
Yeah, I would agree, yes. If you compare many people in the mundane world and Vaishnavas, we can see somehow a difference.
Yeah, and they sense the difference also sometimes. They sense also the difference that this person is something, you know, that maybe they're just a workmate, but they can sense it sometimes. So, yeah.
So it's a small question. So at the airport, there's a big emphasis on book distribution, and there's a clue in the
Last.
in the verse as well. There's a big clue in the. So excuse me a minute. Just in the verse, probably the verse, the main verse.
Oh,
Yeah.
you're not referring to the paragraph.
Where is it?
Even while engaged in various activities, devotees whose minds are completely absorbed at your lotus feet and who constantly hear chant and contemplate and cause others to remember your chastity names and forms are also always on the Transcendental Platform.
Oh, yeah.
And thus they can understand the supreme personality of God.
Causes others to remember. So my question is based on that and the purport, where Srila Prabhupada says one can induce other people to read the books. Is it a conscious activity? Does it have to be like a conscious endeavor, an activity, or is it like a natural thing where somebody is reading the books with Krishna conscious to some level, and then other people will pick up on that and they'll get inspired, or is it like the
So I didn't understand that last bit.
Okay, so my question is, is it like almost like a separate activity? One inspires people to take the books, read the books, or as in the verse, to cause others to remember. Is that like an endeavor, or is it like a natural occurrence of being Krishna conscious and reading the books?
Well, in one sense, they need the association devotees to make that progress.
Yeah.
Shraddha, then Sadhu Sangha, then Bhajana Kriya.
Yeah.
So they get an association by the books, but also to understand their meaning at any depth. Then they need this to hear from a pure devotee, to explain and answer questions. Though I sometimes find some unusual conclusions can come from reading them on their own, or they become attached to their way of understanding.
Yeah. Yeah.
The Prabhupada emphasized book distribution because the books will last, and it can reach so many people. And as people take to it and they develop a desire to know more, then Krishna then can make arrangements. He can't make arrangements if they don't desire it. So according to, once they have a little spark of inquiry, inquisitiveness, or to know more, then Krishna immediately reciprocates. Just like he did with us in our lives.
Yeah.
You know, how we look back at how we came in contact with Krishna consciousness. There's something initially there that we wanted something more, or there must be more to life than this, and want to know the real truth, or things like this. What's the point of this crazy world, and so on. And also, Prabhupada, some devotees he'd send to other parts of the world to preach. And it came to a point sometimes where he said, well, just chant, just sit there and chant, nothing else, just sit there and chant. And even from that, so many Krishna consciousness start to flourish. So it's all, for someone to get bhakti, they have to meet someone who already has it.
Yeah.
So, and then Krishna makes the arrangements for them to progress.
Yeah.
But also, it's also true how the more the devotee is determined, enthusiastic about spreading Krishna consciousness, then the Lord will reciprocate by giving him the intelligence to spread Krishna consciousness in dynamic ways. Not just maybe one-to-one, but in such a way that reaches the masses, as devotees are now using the internet for that, in that regard. So if we have that desire, then Krishna will give us the intelligence to be engaged in that way. So any other points or questions?
Sorry, just on that. So I just remembered in the purport, Srila Prabhupada says by practical devotional service. So it would imply that there is quite an endeavour, an activity in distributing books. Whereas my question was a bit more like the purport, the verse seemed to me, my misinterpretation of it seemed to indicate that it was a natural occurrence that one causes others to become Krishna conscious. But would I be right in thinking that there is actually an endeavour there to help other people to become Krishna conscious? If one is Krishna conscious, of course.
One causes others to remember Krishna's transcendental, of course. Yeah, so one can do that by, just wearing tilak in public. This is how that can remind people of Krishna. By giving them books, by Harinam, by you just asking a question of some soul to make them think, that there might be something more than just what they're experiencing now. So it leads on to them being open to hearing more. Yeah, we have to instill some possession there, something similar in the nectar of instruction, how the devotees should cause others to be interested in Krishna consciousness in so many ways.
Right.
As I remember, how can they just be interested? It's just that we have to create an interest. And Krishna's given, and Prabhupada's given us so many ways by which we can do that. And the more the devotee is inclined or really motivated to really be on board with that, then the more Krishna gives the intelligence. And so through prayer and so on, to be able to engage in that way, so that can be. So any other comments or questions? Okay, thank you very much for your attention. Grantara Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Isko Guruvata ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Samavita Bhaktivinoda ki jai, Nitai Gaur Premanandi.
Vrinda Mataji ki.